Hi, it's Jackleen. Let's talk about this Aries full moon that's coming up on October 6th. Here on the West Coast, it will be at 8:48 p.m. So adjust accordingly depending on where you are. But that's when we have our full moon. This is the first full moon following that eclipse cycle. And it is fall, so I'm officially wearing a sweater, even though it's not really cold enough for that. But I'm very enthusiastic for fall. So happy fall. And happy Aries full moon and first full moon after the eclipse. All right. So, one of the first things I like to do, well, when I look at a chart, is I like to look at where's the trouble coming from? What's the troublemaker? Oh, by the way, full moon, Aries. These kind of things evoke a little bit of tension, right? Aries is the sign of aggression, warlike behavior. It's the most masculine sign. And it's a full moon, which again, the sun and moon not in agreement. But this one, I think its bark is louder than its bite, or bark is worse than its bite, or whatever. So, and the reason I want to say that is because I jumped to the troublemakers, and the biggest troublemaker in this chart is Mercury, because there is a square between Mercury and Pluto, and that's really not even that bad. You know, some of the other planets, the outer planets, as I've been talking about, are in relative harmony. We've got sextiles and trines with Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, even though we've got Neptune and Saturn a little bit too close for comfort right now. And so that means a couple of different things I've mentioned before. It's kind of the lights coming on, Saturn being the voice of reason, to Neptune sort of ideology and religious zealotry and general craziness. On the other side of the coin, it can kind of have people feel a little bit of imposter syndrome, self-doubt, maybe not trust their intuition as much, making everything overly logical. So that may be one side effect of it. But generally, as I look, and Saturn maybe is a little bit of a troublemaker here as well, Saturn and Mercury, but you can work with Saturn. Saturn is the easiest planet to work with. I should say the simplest planet to work with. And I've said this before because it just wants ritual, discipline. It wants kind of a little bit of self-sacrifice, not in a dramatic way or anything like that, but more like, delayed gratification, not having dessert first, I guess. My granddad used to always have dessert first, and I guess it was a discipline for him to do that. And some people think that works, but generally I like to have my dessert after dinner, right? Because I've earned it. Or after a workout or something, after I've done something. So if you set up this system of do the thing, get the reward, because there's a real nice work reward kind of energy going on. And when I talk about any lunation, a full moon, a new moon, I'm talking about the time around the moon. Like I said, 8:48 p.m. on Monday, October 6th, but also the next 2 weeks, because it's sort of like a dream catcher. That's the chart that we're under for the next couple of weeks, maybe even a month. There's going to be aspects of it still kind of gonging and resounding over the next month, but definitely over the next couple of weeks, this is what we want to do. We want to have that ritual. We want to have that discipline. We want to work with Saturn. And, we want to kind of, Mercury is in Scorpio, and Scorpio, to me, I've got a Scorpio rising, and I like to call it bitchy rising because it occasionally comes out, right? If anyone has any familiarity with Scorpio, what happens is that the stinger comes up, right? And we sometimes don't know when it's going to come up, right? Or what it responds to. And so just notice that when you've been feeling some tension, because it is the first full moon after an eclipse cycle, what's going to happen is that you're gonna have little redux here, kind of a reverberation of the eclipse lessons. So whatever came up during the eclipse for you, if we've talked and you know where in your chart it's hit this eclipse and what planets its aspect, all the better, right? What we talked about being that eclipse lesson. So that's going to come around again to just kind of be like, hey, knocking on the door, just seeing if everything's cool here. So rather than flying off the handle, again, Mercury has to do with the way we communicate. All things are communication, right? And it's in Scorpio. like I said, and so we could have that sort of backhanded communication. We could have Scorpio is co-ruled by Mars, well, Mars and Pluto, and it's Mercury is in square to Pluto. So that's kind of the David and Goliath thing, um, where, what do you have to say to the boss? What do you have to say to people in authority? That sort of thing. And don't be a loose cannon. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but those around you who might have a little bit more loose cannon impulse, just keep an eye, maybe step back a little bit, steer clear. But in truth, the bark is worse than the bite. This is actually one of those full moons. There is, obviously in a full moon, we have that opposition between the sun and the moon. I'm going to talk about that in a minute and what that means with the Aries Libra dynamic. And we've also got a Saturn Venus opposition. And so that can bring some stuff up in relationships, and it could echo some of these eclipse lessons, this communication lessons, that sort of thing. Money stuff too. So if money was one of the things that issue over the eclipse for you, that may come up, and just some echoes of what was already there. Don't freak, okay? I did say that, I think on my last video. Don't freak about any of this, because it's just a little pop quiz that comes up saying, did you master your eclipse lessons? And even if you didn't, it's an opportunity to then go and do that. Okay. And so again, what came up during the eclipse for you? I want to talk about this opposition. I look at the Sabian symbols. It's from the book, An Astrological Mandala. It's way over there, so I was going to get it, but it's a book, I believe, is written in 1929, where a medium and an astrologer got together and channeled a picture, an image for every degree in the zodiac. And the moon, because it's a full moon, we start with the moon. The image of that is a Native American weaving a ceremonial blanket. And it's projecting, this is their words in the book, projecting into everyday living the realization of wholeness and fulfillment. Basically, that's what I call living into it. Seeing the vision of the house on the hill, the thing that you want, the grand vision, and walking into it with small, ordinary actions. That's Saturn. That's what Saturn wants to do. If you're doing that, you are pleasing Saturn. So we like that. That's what we were already talking about. That's where the moon is. The sun is in at 15 degrees. Well, I would say 14. It's actually 14 degrees, but we have to skip ahead for the Sabian symbols. So the Sabian symbol for the sun, I believe it's a circular path. And so what oftentimes ends up happening, immediately I got an image of a roundabout going up a mountain, taking the same path up a mountain where you're just a little bit higher than you were when you came around this bend before. You see things from a different vantage point. Then you come around again and you see things from a higher vantage point, and it looks the same but different. And so what this tells me is to really recognize the progress that you made, even during the eclipses over the last 6 months, as I talked about before, because we recently had that fall equinox. It's a good time to kind of sit back and look at our progress over the last 6 months, right? And to thank ourselves for what we've done, right? Celebrate our successes. So there's that. So looking at it, it's all a circle, right? And we may have to do some of the things we did. It's kind of like that before enlightenment, carry wood, carry water, whatever, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, right? So we're doing the same things, but with a different perspective, a different mindset, a different kind of spiritual view of the world. And those two go together really nicely, that and the weaving of the ceremonial blanket. And that, to me, when I think of Native American and kind of the first people on this land, I think of living in harmony with the earth. And how can we do that? And how can we kind of, again, that weaving, that everyday work, how can we bring spirituality into our everyday work? And again, incremental process or progresses that I've talked about over the eclipse cycle because we had that big Virgo full circle happening. Remember, we started at 0 degrees Virgo and we ended, well, with the new moon before the eclipse, we started at 0 degrees Virgo and we ended up at 29 degrees Virgo. So that's like mastery of work, mastery of that deliberate working energy. Okay. So, yeah, a lot of what's going on right now in the world is just talk and bravado, and some of it's just never going to happen. Okay. It's just, don't get freaked about what people say for the most part. And trust your intuition and ask yourself, am I okay? Am I going to be okay? That's something that when I'm having a sense of fear, like a displaced sense of fear over what's going on in the world, I just try to tune in and be like, are we okay? Am I okay? And I always get a yes. So I feel like something has shifted in the world since we even spoke last. And I will credit the eclipse cycle and that 29-degree Sirius 29th degree Virgo. There had been a major completion with something, and the eyes are being opened, lights are being turned on right now. And you can look at that however you want to. More people waking up, more people seeing truth. And I'm seeing that across the board. And again, we're still in that nice, harmonious outer planet configuration where, yeah, call that person in your family that maybe you believe differently and start to make inroads, perhaps if you feel drawn, or maybe they will call you. Who knows? But I feel like there's unity to be had. There is an experience of more peace to be had in families and just in general. Just don't be the one that shoots off at the mouth if you can help it. Once again, I'm preaching to the choir because you're listening to something about the moon, right? The full moon. Okay, what else do I need to say? Oh yeah, there's luck. There's luck around this one too. I love it when Jupiter is aspected. Basically, any way Jupiter can be aspected is pretty good, unless you have a problem, or unless someone has a problem with excess, compulsion, addiction, that kind of thing. That's when we get into trouble with Jupiter. But right now, it's aspected in sort of a justice way. We have a sextile to Venus, and Venus is the north and south node or along that Venus-Saturn opposition as well. And so what that tells me is we are kind of reckoning with purpose. We're kind of weighing, is this the right action or is this the right action? And it's going to not be the most impulsive usually. It's going to be the more deliberate. And whatever we do right now, do deliberately, I would say. But yes, Venus and Jupiter in good aspect, that's always lucky. And then we've got Saturn and Jupiter in good aspect. And sometimes that will bring us good stuff from the past, right? Or rewards for work that's already been done. So I like that one. I think that's one way that it can work. Okay. Sometimes it brings things, that old saying of when opportunity shows up, some people don't realize it because it's dressed in overalls. It looks like work, right? Well, that's another side of that. That's another aspect of that. So if it does look like there's a little bit of work, I would say whistle while you work. And I think I said that on the last video as well, to work with that deliberateness and that knowing of what your grand vision is. And activism and innovation also. And a very aspected planet in this full moon is Uranus, which is the planet of activism, visionary, innovation, basically, invention. So, and there's also kind of a boss aspect to Aquarius. I always see Aquarius as someone who can, no matter what, get the job done, and they can do it relatively fast. And so there's that energy around it too. So that's actually, that can be a very difficult planet if aspected in a difficult way. It's aspected nicely. So we're in a place where even if it might look difficult, or people might be saying certain things, oh, this is going to happen, or this is how it's going to go, I might reserve judgment, sit back, look at what really is happening, and look at things with your intuition right now. There have been a lot of events in the world that my intuition, my spidey sense has said that I'm not buying that. So I'm just going to tell you that if you're feeling that way too, and I'm not going to point to any particular events, but you might, some things that have made big news that just don't, if it smells like a fish, it's a fish, right? Walks like a duck, it's a duck. Trust your gut feeling. We're being told right now, don't trust yourself. Trust what I say. Trust what, you know, what the party told them to ignore the vision of their eyes and ears or whatever, right? So we're getting a little bit of that in the world. So just know, always kind of filter it through what your intuitive self thinks. And that's happening across the board. I don't care which side of politics you're on, what side of religion, what your beliefs are. That's happening across the board. I just had a talk with a more conservative friend of mine, and we both agreed something is not right about this situation and this situation. So, okay, so there's that. What else do I need to say about this? Yeah, the outer planet's still in that nice place. It's a pretty good full moon. Okay, it's going to give us a little primer on our eclipse lessons, and that's okay. Just know that that's what it is. Oh, am I going to take the bait? Nope. Right? That's the answer already. I can tell you. The answer is nope, not going to take the bait. Going to take a deep breath, step back. If there's something that needs to be said, I can say it later. Okay, so that's what that's about. Very positive and well aspected full moon. So I hope you'll enjoy the next couple of weeks. And if there's anything else to say, I'll say it in one of the places where I usually say it, maybe here. So I'll talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye.